Here I have a series I really like, but you won't go out of your way to experience all of it. For me, that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the casual fling of the series. I've seen all the movies and cartoons, but usually always a year or two after release, and I don't feel any drive to read any of the comics. But I do quite enjoy TMNT. I've enjoyed everything I've seen from it, ironically or not. But there was a time where I was completely obsessed with this series, and that was when I watched the 2012 series. It's easy to forget how huge this was when it was released. Nick purchasing the series in 2009 definitely raised some eyebrows, especially so soon after the 2003 show ended, which is praised for its far darker take on the series. Now it's by the same studio as SpongeBob. Clearly, the 2003 show was treated with much more respect. Nick would never have Splinter sing the national anthem in opera, but this show was a massive success. It's objectively the most successful Nick cartoon of the 2010s, getting 5 seasons, being one of 5 Nick shows to get more than 100 episodes, and amassing a huge fan base of both old and new Turtle fans, and being the sole reason Toys R Us held on for so long. Just saying, it's no coincidence that the year after the show ended, Toys R Us went out of business. It wasn't my introduction to the series. I vaguely remember seeing the first and third films at a friend's house. I know it was the first because Ralph swore and parents were flabbergasted. And I remember the old Japanese world of the third film, along with drinking this large supply of laundry detergent. But it was the first time I truly got into the series. It even got me into watching the previous shows, which I guess I should briefly mention my thoughts on. The original, like most 80s action cartoons, is ridiculously cheap, but I enjoy it for what it is. Not a show to watch in its entirety, but definitely a fun show to watch once in a while, and admire how animators really did not give a single frick. The 2003 show is pretty great. It's nowhere near as edgy as some of its detractors make it out to be. I like the new characters like Bishop and Han, but it does kind of lose itself in the final couple seasons. Still, a pretty great series. Rise is having an intense battle to the death with Clarence, in which once hated cartoon can have the most revisionist history on what's now suddenly beloved. Jokes aside, I love Rise, but spoiler alert, it will get its own video, so I'll just save my thoughts for it then. While the 2012 series is one that still holds my heart, as the years go on, it's kind of faded into the background. No one really talks about it anymore. It's been criticized for having an inconsistent tone and its use of CGI, like seemingly every cartoon I review. It's a show that I loved as a kid that's gotten recently more divisive. It's so weird to see this show get looked over now, especially since 2003 has been getting a lot more love recently. Rise has gotten a lot of love post-release, and Nick refuses to acknowledge them, or 2012, and keeps shoving 87 down our throats. This show is important to me. Not only was it what got me into TMNT, it got me back into the cartoons on Gravity Falls. I took a brief break around late 2010. I assume there was some horrible event that drove me away from it. With that said, I never finished the show, dipping around season 3. Not out of disinterest, just out of falling out of TV, outside of, again, Gravity Falls. But hey, with a new movie coming out, I think it's about time to go back to my old obsession and dive into the sewers to see if TMNT 2012 still holds up. So like my Danny Phantom video, I'm going to split the character section up between the heroes and the villains. Mostly because there's like a million characters in this show. From villains to allies, it feels like every single character in this show is used at least twice. There's 2 notes of the frick ton of characters here. For one, this might have one of the most stacked casts in a cartoon. From notable voice actors like Rob Paulsen, Greg Sipes, Tom Kenny, Nolan North, Phil Lamar, Kevin Michael Richardson, and Fred Tatasciore, to celebrity voice actors and lower-level stars like Clancy Brown, Mae Whitman, Joss Peck, Mark Hamill, and David Tennant, to genuine movie stars like Seth Green, Danny Trejo, Jason Biggs, Sean Astin, Kelly Hu, Corey Feldman, Roseanne Barr, actually scratch the last one. And those are just the major roles. There's even more for the guests. Usually celebrities in TV animation are pretty bad, but everyone here does a great job. I never heard the actor, always the character. But there's another pretty clear thing about there being so many characters. It feels like every episode introduces either a new character or a new costume for the Turtles. You better believe there's a toy for almost everything. Almost. As the show went on, we got less and less new toys, but still, it's absolutely shameless. But 1, we got a bunch of cool characters from it, and 2, toys are so rare for cartoons nowadays, so, you know, if this is what it takes, sure. I can't include every character, but I'll hit as many as I can. Starting with the Turtles, they can all be summed up as taking their pre-established traits and exaggerating them, but still keeping them real wanted characters that don't compromise the more emotional moments. I'd say these are the perfected Turtles, even if I prefer Rise's takes on Leo and Donnie. Special note goes to Mikey, who has always been and will always be my favorite turtle, and this show is the reason why. He's the funny one. Not only that, he's the heart of the team. He's the one who works with everyone through their problems. But he's also the goofball. I love Mikey. Always be the best turtle for me. He's also copying giantesses and a dom.
We're not that kind of sub.
Now let me start some fights. This is my favorite April. I feel like April is the most memorable character in the entire TMNT series. Really all she needs to be is a human friend to the Turtles. Her age and profession don't matter, and this is one of the first big changes to her, being the same age as the Turtles and in school instead of a reporter. I feel like this works. It feels more believable for a kid to decide to hang around some giant trolls than a grown adult, and like, seriously. How hasn't April told any of these clearly hot stories for a news reporter? I get not reporting on the Turtles, but there are actual aliens and crime syndicates. You could have the biggest story of all time and expose your biggest enemies. God, April! Why is this 80s kids show so stupid? I don't know, I just love her sisterly relationship with the Turtles. And that she's actually a very active part of the show. But yeah, I should talk about the mutant elephant in the room. Her relationship with Donnie. It's complicated. For one, I'm kind of surprised they just straight up had a relationship between a human and a turtle in a show in 2012. Like, how is that allowed? Is that still allowed? I don't know. Sonic kissing a human was the downfall of humanity for a time. Though they would probably declare that they would rail Rouge the Bat. But besides that, Donnie's a bit creepy about it, almost to a stalkerish level. When he finally moves on, she kisses him on the lips. Why? Also, they just kind of drop this later, despite it being the main focus of both of these characters for most of the first 3 seasons. But hey, not the most uncomfortable ship in the show. The only thing that's controversial in the slightest, say 2012 has the best Splinter. Even detractors of the show tend to agree here. It's the best possible combination of being a wise and helpful mentor who'll put his life on his line for the safety of his kids. He's truly the true father to them in this version. And he's also a silly.
The Shredder.
He's also got the best backstory of any Splinter, but I'll get more into that when we get to Shredder. I don't have much to say about this version of Casey. He's what you would expect from the younger version of the character. He's got some funny lines and does what he needs to, and he's voiced by Josh Peck. So yeah, he's fine. Cry is mostly a pretty great character. She's very tragic in how she was kidnapped away from Splinter and raised by Shredder, but Shredder does genuinely care for her. Despite that, even in her first appearance, she's girl bossing it up by trying to overthrow Shredder. And once she finds out the truth and wakes up as a Sneeple, she forms her own Foot Clan to overthrow Shredder. She's great. Let's get uncomfortable. So there's clearly a thing between her and Leo. They initially have a Batman-Catwoman relationship, which is fun and nice and is a good reason for why Leo would go easy on her, and then they reveal that Cry is Splinter's daughter. Oh wait, this is gross now. Now obviously, after a bit of research, I have deduced that they aren't blood related, because Leo was a freaking turtle. Does not make it better. Listen, as a society that likes Empire Strikes Back, it would be fine if they addressed that this is wrong. But it just kind of gets shrugged off, and it's never even confirmed if they stopped dating. Nickelodeon. The incest cackle of animation. The Turtles have a counterpart team to assist them, being the Mighty Mutanimals. Don't have much to say about most of the members, but I was obsessed with Leatherhead as a kid. Site material tends to depict him as evil, so I was always cautious whenever he appeared, only for him to actually be one of the nicest characters in the show. Plus I like alligators and gentle giants. And his friendship with Mikey is great too. Slashflow? I do quite like him, but I think his redemption was a bit rushed. It's basically he beats the Turtles within an inch of their life, only keeping them alive to lengthen their pain, to working with Neutralizer, then suddenly he's the leader of his own team and a good guy. I guess it would make sense. The Turtles were gone and the town needed a hero since the Kramer overtaking everything. But, I wish he had more time. I still like him though. Renette is a character I really wish appeared more. Her relationship with Mikey is adorable. She's a massive dork, time travel is fun. I really love Renette. Sad that she was only in like 5 episodes. Also in a previous video, I mentioned that her voice actress, Ashley Johnson, was romantically paired with characters played by Mikey's voice actor, Greg Sipes, a few other times. I later found out that this show has the same casting director as the Robot Monkey team, so this at least was likely intentional. Probably explains why we have 2 examples of Tom Kenny voicing a super intelligent monkey. Finally, didn't know where to put him, so I'll just put him here. Timothy. He starts off as a wannabe superhero, who seems to be a jab the kids in the 87 show who just kind of tagged around and did nothing. Then he turns into slime. Then he made the rookie mistake of listening to Donatello. Then this happened. Bro, Mutant Man is freaking horrifying. The effects in his voice are just not fun. But even after freezing him, Donnie promises to return Timothy to his original form. Mutant Man remains frozen for the rest of the series. Anyways, villains! As I mentioned, there's like a new villain every episode, so I'm just going to focus on a few of the more major ones. This version of Shredder is great. Not my favorite, can't be James Avery, but he's actually terrifying. I love his backstory and how he does genuinely believe Splinter ruined his life, and kidnapped Cry so that he could give her a good life. And I loved it even more when he nearly died, only to come back as Super Shredder. Also, I love that Shredder is seen as like the most stereotypical generic cartoon villain ever, alongside Skeletor, when 3 of his 4 appearances make him the most terrifying mother who has ever flickered. Bebop and Rocksteady were my 2 biggest cases of being brainwashed by the show. I genuinely thought every Bebop was skinny and every Rocksteady was always Russian. But no, I was just thinking of this show only. But they're their fun side to themselves. I love their constant bickering, get genuine bromance, and then they even turn a new leaf. Rocksteady in particular is probably the funniest character in the show. I love that he's so painfully Russian, he even fights with a hammer and sickle. The communism rep we all needed. Before we got them though, we had a similar pair. Fishface and Dog Pound. While not as fun as Bebop and Rocksteady, I also really like these guys. Fishface especially, on how he was this striving to be a cool guy who's completely outclassed by everyone.
I can still see in the dark.
So can I.
I cannot, so this is kind of upsetting.
Dog Pound is decent, but it's really good when he mutates again into Razar. His design is actually terrifying, and like that he goes from the butt of the joke to a feared adversary. That is document in any TMNT thing where you either be a complete loser or a threat. Here he's a loser. He mostly only assists Shredder, but he's funny so it's cool. While Shredder's the one everyone watches the show for, the Krang, spelled with 2 A's for some reason, are the true main villains, pulling the strings for a majority of the series, and even after their defeat, constantly popping up or being connected in some way. Heck, they're even the overarching villains of the 87 show, since that Krang was a banished member of this Krang's army. The one that banished him, by the way, is voiced by Gilbert Godfrey. I remember thinking back he'd be a great replacement voice for Krang, and it's cool that that idea actually came true. But when they bring 87 Krang back, they do actually have him voiced by his old actor, which is great, since that voice makes me think deep sexual thoughts. Don't judge me. To end this off, let's look at 2 new villains, and 2 revitalized villains. Neutralizer was a cool recurring villain. I found out that he was based on some drawings an executive producer made as a kid, which is really cool. I don't have much to say, but I just think that he's super raw. They should include him in more TMNT stuff. Same with Tiger Claw. The biggest new character here, Claw serves as a second in command to Shredder, and I also don't have much to say about him. He's just really freaking cool. Lord Dreg tends to pop up whenever we really need to show how good the crew is. The most feared creature in the galaxy, and one who certainly backs it up. A lot of murderers in this show, but this guy probably has the most blown up planets under his exoskeleton. Someone should have kill count in the show. There's a shocking amount of death. In the original show, he's voiced by Tony J, and that alone kind of makes me lean towards him, but I really like this guy too. I like how he constantly stops his speech or says stuff weirdly. It really makes him feel alien. With that said, in one episode, after he gets the upper hand, he starts singing a song pumping up how awesome he is.
Yes, go, Dreg! Go, Dreg, go!
And that's just too ridiculous, even for a show with a sentient pizza monster who tries to make everyone in New York into calzones. He's the type of guy to make a hype song for himself and play it as he's committing war crimes. Then there's Rat King. Every single time this motherfricker pops in, anything remotely fun about the show vanishes. This guy is horrifying, for how he mentally tortures Splinter, to how he mutates people into rats to wipe out humanity. Again, for a mostly pretty lighthearted show, they do not pull their punches as Rat King. This is freaking stupid though. Rat King really moved up in life when you think about it. He started as some loser in the sewers, then he was basically Scarecrow, down to the same voice actor, and then, in the comic, he's just straight up a god! An even better glow up. So let's bring up the 2 biggest complaints I've heard about the show that are about shipping. The animation and the tonal problems. I said tonal, by the way, not turtle. If the turtles were a problem in a show called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I wouldn't be. Why would I watch the show? Like that's the main character. I should go back to the script. I'll be honest. I don't understand the problem with the animation at all. CGI sucks the animation. But this up as Clone Wars is one of the very few good examples of such. Every character is so expressive. The animation is actually really fluid and never stiff or awkward looking. They actually tend to mix the media a bit. Nothing too special, but the little touches are appreciated, like the 2D eyes. Lighting also tends to screw CGI cartoons over, but this show is clever about it, since everything is either at night or in the dark, which works to cover up some of the roughness while still being aesthetically pleasing. And when it's brighter, it's in an intentionally uncomfortable area like the Technodrome, making it less uncanny and more intentionally unnerving. With that said, the first couple episodes of Season 3 in the forest look kinda cringe, but it's only a few episodes. Honestly, I admire that Nick does 3D animation so often, seeing how rare it is. They have a dozen of their studio productions using it, compared to CN and Disney, who only have one each. The writing, I think, is pretty good. I think it's actually a really well-paced series. The characters are all very likable. When it wants to be funny, it's funny. When it wants to be sad, it's genuinely really sad. Yes, this might be a show with a shirtless half-pigeon man, but when it's a serious episode, suddenly, there is no shirtless half-pigeon man. I think the best way to show this off is to look at some specifics. Everyone okay with that? Are you cool with that?
Seriously? You're reading way too much into a cartoon show.
Well, frick you too, Leo. You're the worst turtle for a reason. So unlike most shows I review, I won't be looking at every single episode I really love, just a few that I think really highlight the show, the point I'm trying to make here about the show. Yeah, the first episode has a lot to do. Like, not only does it have to do the standard set up the world thing, but I also have to sell old fans in the new series and set up the world for new fans. Since a group of turtles in New York fighting brains is a bit of a hard sell. Now, if turtles are fighting lungs, it would be a completely different story. I think it does it greatly. It's funny, it explains everything really well, it introduces a new villain, everyone can go purchase its toy, it's great. The Gauntlet is the first time Shredder fights the turtles. While the show has him clearly be a baller epic man, this is when we truly find out, oh yeah, he is not someone to mess with. In the same episode, we get more crucial information on the Krang and what they're planning. More time with April's dad, who's crucial for the first couple seasons, Xavier and Bradford mutate, and the Shredder's Pigeon Man. He does not appear when the actual important things happen. The only way to prove it is if he died horrifically. There's a lot of other great episodes in the season, most notably the one with Rat King Leatherhead, but I'll skip to the final two, Operation Breakout and Showdown. Kirby, oh yeah, April's dad is in Kirby. I'll just give myself 5 seconds here to make a bunch of funny jokes with a funny pink fricker. Was kidnapped prior to this, and now the turtles, led by Donnie and his power of Simp, need to break him out and invade the Krang. I think the Krang are a good example of what I'm trying to set up. On one hand, the Krang themselves are really funny, thanks to the deadpan delivery and over-specific ways of speaking. But the show doesn't pull punches on how horrific they are and what they're planning. That's best shown in the finale, where the Krang, with the help of Shredder, brings the Technodrome to New York. Which, New York. Worst place to live. Apparently everything bad happens there. Krang Prime then reveals their plan to do bad stuff, and while they beat the Krang back, there's still that lingering mystery of if the brains shall think again. I ask myself that daily. The Manhattan Project, or Wormcrake, it seems to go by both names for some reason, introduces Tiger Claw to the series. It's also when Karai finds out that Splinter is her dad, though she doesn't believe it until later episodes. It's the first appearance of the 87 Turtles, which sets up the crossover we'll get to soon. Skipping to the finale, I know I said I wasn't going to bring up my favorite episodes, but if I had to pick one, it would be this. I'll talk about more when I do top 30 Nick episodes, but this was a great episode at making you feel absolutely miserable. Wait, no guys, I like this show, I just phrased bad. But between the Krang mutating all of New York, to Shredder's confrontation with Splinter, where he beats up Leatherhead, no, my child, my baby, no! But no, it's a great two-parter. Oh, and also Leo gets hurt, and it's later confirmed in the next episode that he broke his voice box, which means he now sounds like Chris Griffin. He should have just let the Krang kill him. I really like the first half of Season 3. I like these weirder episodes and the mutants they encounter, including a horrifying reference to The Thing, who, fun fact, is voiced by the original voice actress of April, and the Dream Beavers, who are actually voiced by Robert Englund and John Krassier, aka Freddy Krueger and the Crypt Keeper. But yeah, there's not much to say here. The turtles slowly heal up to get a second shot at Krang, and finally they try to stop it in battle for New York, which also includes them teaming up with the newly formed Mighty Mutanimals. It's definitely one of the most creative episodes in the series, with the two teams needing to team up to stop the Krang from detonating a bomb that will mutate Earth. Yeah, the Krang aren't super cool. I wish that we had someone who could help stop them. Well, I got my wish with this Triceratops dude, who's actually foreshadowed in a previous episode. He's not smart, pretty much attacking anyone Ralph wants him to. He's like the less effective Pitbull. But hey, they both want to take out the Krang, so that's good. I hope he doesn't try to do so by bringing an army to destroy Earth. Oh. So this season finale has the Triceratops activate a bomb that, if it goes off, shall kill every being on Earth. That finally proves enough for Shredder and the Turtles to finally work together. Then this happens. Yeah, this is one of the most shocking episodes I've ever seen in a cartoon. Not only does Splinter die, but everyone else does. I always knew God was an alligator. April, Casey, and the Turtles were able to get out, though, thanks to a UFO, leading to Season 4. The start of the episode has a recap where Mikey looks like he's glad Splinter died, and the robot, who's named Fugitoid, tells the crew that they need to go back in time to stop the bomb in 6 months. This arc is kind of the same as the start of Season 3, honestly. The Turtles, April, and Casey go somewhere else after their home gets fricked. They kind of bum around until it's time to go back to New York, something most sane people would never do. I do prefer this, though. The alien worlds are just far more interesting than a forest. You have Drake and the Triceratons as active threats, instead of Turtles just kind of ignoring the brain aliens that are doing God knows what to their friends. And it has Keith David. He is prepping himself for his role as the best character ever made. Special shout out to Weird World of Worm, which is a very fun episode, even if it's a complete knockoff of the episode Meet the Wiggle Nog from Monkey Team. Heck, the Wiggle Nog even appears in this episode. Oh, and of course, we have the first 87 crossover episode. Yeah, it's great. 87 Krang is a lot of fun, and like Turtles Forever's mixed portrayals, these turtles are a lot more accurate. Still a good arc that ends with Earth's last stand, that has the turtles go back in time, stop the bomb, and warn Splinter of Shredder. Also, kind of cleverly, since there's now 2 pairs of turtles, the old ones go to explore space with Fugitoid, and the ones we've been following stay. But when Splinter ratios Shredder, he beats him up so badly he needs intensive care, which of course means he needs to mutate into a giant monster. Yeah, it's Super Shredder time, baby. He's got a lot of great episodes to shine. But of course the highlights are Requiem and Owari. In the former, Shredder puts his plan into motion. Splitting up the turtles, he corners Splinter. Also, Leatherhead just kills Razar, and it's not even focused on. But speaking of killing, yeah, Splinter dies. He does kind of lose some oomph, since this is his second death. Oh, and these faces don't help. But still, he doesn't come back after this Outside of Illusions. In the next episode, they hold a funeral, which includes Pigeon Pete. Okay, so I skipped over this episode, but in one episode, they meet the Mutanimals, who have Mondo Gecko as a member, and not Pete. When the turtles ask where he is, this happens.
We don't talk about Pigeon Pete.
I genuinely thought he died, but now he's back? But this is his final appearance, and whenever the Mutanimals appear, Mondo is with them. What is the Pigeon Pete lore? But yeah, after that, the turtles try to kill Shredder, and they succeed actually. So, the main villain is dead. Now what? Oh, I know! Satan! So the final season is called Tales of the TMNT, and it's completely arc-focused. The first is about Cravaxus, who's kind of a devil, I guess. He's actually based off this character from one of the games, who's just the most generic dragon of all time. Reckoning has competition for best glow-up, but Tiger Claw is using him to revive Shredder, and this also made me realize they literally only kill Razar to show that Cravaxus can revive people. They also keep having Tiger Claw question if Cravaxus is loyal to him, and whenever Tiger is out of eyesight, he smirks. So as you can imagine, this is setting up that they are going to make up for 5 straight minutes. It was really shocking, but I was completely thematically coherent and well-deserved. Also, Shredder drags Cravaxus to the Underworld. Heck exists in TMNT, it's canon. When Worlds Collide asks the daring question of, remember when Drake died? No, you don't. But no, this was a fun episode. I like seeing the Salamandrians on Earth. Moraph and Mona is great. And Drake and Neutralizer are a fun villain duo. Just a bit sad that Mona joins the Mutanimals, but we never see them together. Then there's the Usagi trilogy. If you didn't know, Usagi is a comic series about a Japanese rabbit samurai. And while not a TMNT character, he did appear in the first 3 TMNT shows, and probably would have appeared in Rise if it wasn't cut short. But yeah, this arc is fun. Turtles in Japan is a great idea, except when it's not. And Jay is a phenomenal villain. I want to deep fry this dog though. After that, get a brief one-off episode about Splinter raising baby turtles. He is adorable. Then there's a Mutant Apocalypse trilogy. This was intended to be the final episode, but was moved up in the schedule and was confirmed as a what-if story. This is because every character besides the Turtles, Chompy, and Ice Cream Kitty are confirmed dead. A mutant bomb turns Earth into Mad Max, which, side note, I'm really tired of Mad Max parodies. They're all the exact same. I appreciate the different takes on the characters, but this feels like missed potential. Like this wipes out all other non-mutants, but we see none of the villains or the Mutanimals. Heck, April is the mutant mutagen, and Cry is still a snake, so both should be around, but we don't see them. But there is still one person we see. Even the Apocalypse couldn't save Mugen Man. I mean, I like the Meerkat Girl, and the reinterpretations, and like, overall, it's a fine trilogy, but like, it's just another Mad Max parody. I'm glad this is non-canon. I love the monster arc though. Savante Romero is time traveling to collect monsters, Pokemon joke, so the Turtles and Renette go back in time. Wait, I made a joke already. It's fun, and I like that Dracula eventually overtakes him and even bites Raphael. Probably my favorite arc of the final season, even ends with Savante getting very animated dinosaur to death. Also, feel free to use this clip.
We didn't ask. No one asked.
This leads us to the final arc, Wanted, Bebop, and Rocksteady, which is actually about the 87 characters returning, this time with Shredder. Like the last 87 episode, it's a lot of fun. And even ends with Bebop and Rocksteady reforming. Since James Avery, the original Shredder, passed before this episode, Kevin Michael Richardson voices this Shredder too. And he does a great job making it sound closer to old Shredder than his own. That's a very scattered and long, overblown look at a bunch of different episodes that skipped over a lot of my favorites, which really doesn't really help my point, and it kind of goes all over the place. But hey, this isn't the actual review part, so I can say whatever I want. So in the past, I reviewed shows that, while I love, are very hit and miss, or I can't really recommend it to most people. That doesn't apply for this show. While obviously not perfect, TMNT 2012 is a lot of fun, and its few flaws don't even come close to the great and fleshed out characters, the dynamic and well choreographed fight scenes, some of the best looking CGI in TV animation, and the simultaneously hilarious and heartwarming writing. If you're a Turtles fan, there's a tons of fun, winks and nods, basically everything that came before. If this is your first TMNT thing, it's still very enjoyable, and the references aren't too distracting or anything. Unlike Batman and Spider-Man, there isn't a definitive cartoon adaptation, and I can understand any of the shows being someone's favorite, but to me, this is Ninja Turtles. The perfect mix of funny, serious, and great action you'd expect from the series, without being too long or getting cut short. It's the perfect length, and manages to wrap everything up nicely. Mostly. I've noticed Turtle Mania comes in waves. At first you have the late 80s to the 90s with the original cartoon that completely took over the world, and it's the 90s film and a ton of awful spin-offs that polluted the brand so much that even the 2003 show didn't make a huge splash. Then you have the 2012 show, which completely revived the series and brought in the IDW comic and the 2014 duology. Which, love or hate them, the rage people had for Michael Bay did bring the series to the forefront of people's minds. Eventually, though, it died down again, even kind of killing off Rise before it truly got the shine. But now it's back with the Rise movie, Shredder's Revenge, and the upcoming film. As great as these are, well, this is what I hope to find when I go under the sewers. Instead, I just find aliens and Loch Ness Monster. You know, cringe stuff like that. That's custom my reviews. I'm going to end this off looking at all the spin-off material. Being a show adapting a then nearly 30-year-old franchise, though, I could technically include like a million different things. But I'm going to instead focus on two things that spawned directly from the 2012 show, starting with Half-Shelled Heroes, a special episode told in the style of the toy line of the same name. That's right, a short based on a toy, based on a show, based on another show, based on a toy line, based on a comic. Time is a flat circle. It's clearly made for a younger audience, but it's cute. It's nice that all the actors reprise their old roles, and it even ends with Bebop and Rocksteady joining the heroes, 2 years before they did show in the actual show. Rocksteady's eye is so weird looking though. Also, at one point, Bebop says on like Diddy Kong, confirming once and for all that yes, Diddy Kong is canon to Ninja Turtles, and in this world, he's the star of the series. Why can't this be our world? Despite that, we see Ice Cream Kitty playing a game called Marine Kart, where all the characters are different. So it can only be naturally assumed that in this world, every character in the game is different besides Diddy Kong. You see, Diddy is an absolute point. No matter what universe you go to, Diddy shall be there. He is the glue that holds this cursed earth together. The other is a series of shorts that came out in the summer of 2016. Well, not directly a part of the 2012 series, they did all come out when the show was airing, so they count. They're all done with different people, including Jonan Vasquez of Major Zim, Gary Doodles of Breadwinners, Kevin Eastman of, well, the original TMT comic, Brandon Arman, the producer of the 2012 show, Joe Crusander, who's done some visual effects for various films, and Matt Youngberg, co-creator of DuckTales 2017. Well, I was kind of hoping for something more crazy from these. They're all pretty fun. As someone who's knowledgeable on most of the animators, I feel like they all give a unique take on the franchise, finding a good middle ground between the creators and the turtles. That's about all you want. Raph killing innocent guy, the most generic humanizations known to man, Vor, everything you connect to the turtles. But no, these are fun. Don't know why half of these are made by Gary, when everyone else gets one each though. My favorites are Vasquez's, Arman's, and Cassandra's. There's got just some really great action, comedy, and the 3 heckin' cutest April designs I've ever seen. Anyways, Bebop and Rocksteady are game this. So anyways, that's the end of this video. That is much longer than I was expecting. I was not expecting it to be this long. I'm gonna upload the Rise video around the same time as the new movie, because I'm a greedy little fricker. And now, I just filled this entire water bottle with mutagen. You may say it looks like water, but that's because you're stupid. It's mutagen. So I'm gonna inject this into my bloodstream and see what I turn into. You thought I was gonna turn something? I have like what, 500 subscribers? I have no idea how to do special effects. You are stupid and dumb and. Oh. I like pretty hot, actually.
Let us watch. This is the dumbest thing I have ever seen.
Go Drake, Drake the best, Drake epic, Drake number one Drake. Can't stop Drake. The dragiest Drake that ever Drake. Drake. I hate my life.